Hello, everyone. This is Robert Baratheon with another in the TNV Gamergate series. Today, I'll be answering the question of what unethical journalism has to do with social justice. First, let me ask a question of the listeners as some food for thought. Why is every one of these bad gaming journalists, the ones who engage in collusion, the ones who abuse their customers with gamers are dead type articles, the ones who engage in favoritism or doctor reviews or trade favors with each other or push an agenda through their work instead of giving fair reviews to games. Why is every single one of these journalists a political progressive? And that's not me calling them that. That's how they all self identify as progressives. Grayson and Hernandez, Kuchera, Alexander, Petit, all of these journalists are progressives or social justice warriors or whatever you want to call them. And similarly, those who defend those journalists and rail against the Gamergate movement, Clue, Scalzi, Wheaton, Quinn, Wu, Chu, Sarkeesian, all these people are hardcore political progressives. So the question is, why is that? And do you think that that is merely a coincidence and that these people could just as easily be conservative or liberal, non progressive liberal, or moderate? Or do you think these people just happen to be progressives? The answer, of course, is no. It's not happenstance that this particular far left political movement just happens to have a perfect correspondence with either engaging in or defending unethical journalistic behavior. Uh, Occam's razor implies that I followed to its conclusion that there is a causal link here. It is not coincidence at all. In an earlier video, I discussed what progressivism is and what its values are. One thread we see over and over in social justice is the Machiavellian principle that the ends justify the means. So, whereas justice is process based, social justice is outcome based. And the two operate according to completely different and incompatible principles. So, in the social justice framework, whatever costs you pay to reach the desired outcome of the planner are irrelevant as long as it in net progresses society towards their political ideal. Progressivism holds the unconstrained view of humanity as described in A Conflict of Visions, which is the idea that humanity is perfectible and that some humans are further along the path to perfection than others. So, whereas most of us in the American tradition and in the tradition of the Constitution see a need for checks and balances on power because of the flaws that are embedded in our very human nature, progressives see only the need to put the right people in power. And supposedly, these people will behave themselves and not succumb to petty personal agendas for personal gain because they are progressives and they won't do that. They'll put high minded ideals before their own selves and those close to them. This is what Bill Easterly calls the benevolent autocrat theory. So, one example of this in practice is in my home state, a very deep blue progressive state, where the Speaker of the House was for years involved in all sorts of shady power plays and corruption. But the Speaker was also a gay man and half black, and he supported the labor unions. and he supported gay marriage and all sorts of other progressive causes. So while he was a terrible person and nobody really disputed that, or that he was abusing his power for personal reasons, when it came time for re-election and to get a better candidate in, all the progressive bloggers and the union heads and the progressive organizations and the activists endorsed the speaker for re-election because he would give them politically what they wanted. The ends justified the means of having a corrupt speaker. So he was handily reelected by his progressive base, and a few weeks later he was raided by the FBI and resigned in disgrace. And you might think there was some contrition on the part of those who endorsed him or campaigned for him, but you would be wrong. They just kind of brushed it off as the cost of doing business. What are you going to do? So progressivism will tolerate corruption as long as it's towards some higher goal and in the name of social justice. If your friends are progressives, it's okay to advance them without disclosing that they're your friends because they hold the correct politics and you know that they're good progressive people and they're going to move society forward if you let them get ahead. And if you're campaigning on behalf of a supposedly marginalized group like gays or women or ethnic minorities, it's okay to sacrifice better gaming products so that games featuring those identity groups are given more attention and can get more exposure. Every ethical sacrifice to these journalists is just the price of advancing the progressive cause. So, this is why Gamergate opposes social justice. It's not because Gamergate is a political movement or that we have a hidden political right-wing agenda. It's because progressivism, social justice, tolerates and contributes to the unethical behavior that Gamergate is against. Thank you for listening, and good night.